Hey, what is going on, guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video we're going to be breaking down why the new Sona Lux bot lane combo is extremely strong right now. Pros are playing it in solo queue a lot. It's being played a lot in high elo. We've even seen it a little bit in the pro scene already, and in today's video we're going to be breaking down why it's so strong and how you should be looking to play it. And as of the recording of this video, the duo win rate of these two champions right now sits at 63%. That's just completely off the charts. We very rarely ever see a duo combo hit this kind of a win rate, and it's not just over a couple games either. It's over 4,400 matches, so pretty good sample size to go along with that as well. Alright, so how you're gonna make this combo work is you start the game off with Spell Thieves on both Lux and Sona. This may seem a little bit confusing because theoretically you shouldn't be able to start with Spell Thieves on two bot lane champions anymore, but how you're gonna bypass this is you end up only taking 20 CS per 5 minutes on both your Lux and Sona. So Sona takes 20 CS per 5, Lux takes 20 CS per 5, so you don't actually end up falling behind in gold on the enemy AD carry if you do this, because the enemy AD carry is probably only going to be able to CS like 80 to 90 CS per 10 minutes, maybe even less than that. So you could actually end up coming out on top overall in gold from CS, but you do have to keep in mind as well that you do have the Spell Thieves passive, so you will end up generating more gold overall than the enemy bot lane due to the Spell Thieves passive. You should be able to proc that consistently with your Lux E, with Sona Q throughout the laning phase, so you're actually going to be able to generate a lot of gold even though you are starting with the Spell Thieves edge. So it's just such a strong combo because you don't end up falling behind in gold throughout the early game, and you also end up getting a 463% gold efficient item on both your bot lane champions. Once you complete your Spell Thieves quest, once you get that upgraded to Sharded True Ice, it's 463% gold efficient, so it's just pretty insane. Also, Spell Thieves Edge did get a buff in last patch to where the mana regen on the item got increased from 25% up to 50%, so it makes it even stronger as of this patch. Now, not only is the strategy extremely gold efficient, the amount of utility you provide for your team in the mid game is just completely ludicrous, and you just don't lose mid to late game team fights if you stay even throughout the early game with this combo. You end up going for an early Athenes on both these two champions. You got the Guardian Shield, you got Ares Shield, you got Sona W and Lux W, so if you're just team fighting with this combo in the mid game, the enemy team is just going to have a very difficult time breaking through the heals and shields, and you're just going to very easily win team fights as long as you don't fall behind in the early game. Now, you might be wondering, well, couldn't I just play this combo with two other healing and shielding supports, something like a Soraka and a Janna, or couldn't I play this with like Lulu and Sona? The reason why Lux and Sona work so much better is that not only do you provide your team with really good healing and shielding, you also have insane lockdown and pick potential. Once you hit level 6, Lux Bind into Sona Ultimate is like a guaranteed free kill. Also, once you do hit the mid to late game, if you can control vision around objectives, find picks with a Sona Ultimate or find picks with a Lux Bind, you just have a lot more raw carry threat with these two champions than any other combo. This is also pretty much the perfect meta to run this combo because when you take a look at other roles, when you take a look at the most picked top laners right now, 10 out of 10 of the most picked top laners are bruiser picks that want to go in, they want to be frontlining, they want to be in the middle of a team fight. And if you have something like a Darius or a Jax or Mordekaiser frontlining on your team, and you got the Lux and Sona providing them with those shields and heals, they're never going to die, and they're going to be able to pump out an insane amount of damage throughout that fight. So now if we move on to taking a look at the correct setup you should be running on both these two champions, first starting with Lux, for summoner spells, it's either going to be Flash Heal or Flash Barrier for every single game. Whichever champion you don't take the barrier on, you want to take the heal on the other. For your build path, it's going to be an Athene's Rush as your main starting item for every game. You don't really want to swap anything out for that. Second item though, it's either going to be your Ardent Censer or Redemption. So if your team comp just doesn't have any champion that's going to be auto attacking a ton, if you don't have any champion who's going to benefit from the passive on Ardent Censer, then you can go for Redemption second. But if you do have auto attack focused champions on your team, you want to make sure you are going that Ardent Censer and then Redemption. For your runes, it's going to be the Guardian as your keystone rune, Shield Bash there, Conditioning, and then Revitalize. And then for secondary runes, taking the Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight. And then for your ability maxing, really important here, a lot of players are messing up on this in this patch right now. Most players are maxing their E first, Q second, and and then W last, but you actually want to be maxing your W out first, Q second, and then E last. You can max your E out second, that does work fine as well, but most pros in this patch are liking the W first into Q and then E last. And then for the most optimal setup on Sona for summoner spells, it's either going to be the barrier or the heal. For your build path and archangels into Athenes, and then Lichbane is really good on her. I didn't mention this when talking about Lux or talking about the build on Lux, but you can go for an early Magi's as well. If you pick up an early Dark Seal on your first or second base, and then if you have that on 10 stacks, don't be afraid to upgrade that to a Magi's, especially if it doesn't look like you're going to be dying very much throughout the game. Early Magi's does do very well on both these two champions. But this build path on Sona here, really strong, provides your team with a lot of healing, a lot of utility, and you also do have really surprising amount of damage with this build path as well. Once you complete that Lichbane, you can do a lot of damage, especially to squishy targets in team fights. For your rune setup on Sona, there's two different pages going around at the moment. It's either the Guardian, so running double Guardian there, or you can also take the Summon Airy. Guardian's gonna work best for you if you're going up against a very aggressive enemy bot combo. Say you're going up against a Misfortune Leona or Tristana Nautilus, something like that, then run the double Guardian because it's just gonna allow yourself to survive the early game a lot easier. If you get hooked or if you get all in, the double Guardian is gonna work really well for you. Summon Airy is another option though. If you're in a much easier early game matchup, if the enemy team doesn't really have a ton of early kill threat, then you can look to run the Summon Airy to give yourself some more poke damage in the early game, and it also does synergize pretty well with your shielding on Sona. And then for your ability maxing, you can either max Q first for the extra damage, or you can max W first. So two different options there. Whichever one you do prefer, you can look to use. Both do have very good win percents right now in this patch. So if you do want more damage, max Q. If you want more shielding power and healing power, then max your W first. And then lastly here, let's just run down a couple good bans or just good counters to the combo. Blitzcrank would be my #1 ban if you're looking to play this synergy. If you don't know, Blitzcrank's ultimate, it actually disables shields. I feel like a lot of people wouldn't know that, but it got added into his kit a little while back, and it just makes it so that if he hooks you in at level 6, or if he just runs at you at level 6, presses ultimate, then it's just going to completely get rid of your shields, and it allows for him to burst you out pretty easily there at the level 6. So that is a really good ban. The Swain is a pretty good one as well. With his E, it allows for him to very easily find picks on you in the early laning phase, and if he's playing with an aggressive AD carry, you can end up dying early on in lane to these more aggressive supports. So something like Pantheon as well can be a bit difficult. The Nautilus, Leona, just really any aggressive support that wants to engage on you early on in the laning phase, they can be a little bit more difficult. So that's going to be it for the video, guys. Hopefully this does give you a pretty good understanding as to why Lux Sona is an extremely strong bot lane combo at the moment, and as to why it's probably going to rise in popularity here a little bit more in the coming weeks. So if you do want to head into duo queue and try this out for yourselves, then it's really good at the moment, and I would definitely recommend it. So with that being said, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you have yet to already. So thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.